A cloud of dust and poof, the Chiefs have a practice squad and a couple of new players. What does it mean and who's getting playtime with Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom, and including all you new Chiefs fans, maybe some family members of Chiefs fans and Chiefs players that just got to town. We're brought to you by Gametime. So go get that app, sign up for an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time, and you can get those seats. We're going to cover a lot of the tinkering here. Are they done? That's coming up later in the show. There's a new QB in town. You might have heard his name on this show before. We're going to find out what Matt thinks and try to talk me off of Cloud 9 here. And then we will start with the Chiefs return a bunch of practice squad players, maybe one or two that you'd hoped would be here. This is Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest, the man on the beat, the man inside the locker room every week. We rely on his expertise, especially when I get out on a limb. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, NFL33.com, and RGR Football. I also am going to tell you to go listen to another Locked On show after this one because we're all free 5 days a week, all the time, here on YouTube where you can like and sub, and then onto the audio side on podcasts where Spotify and Apple Podcasts are going to do the job, but you can get it anywhere. You can get a free show. So if you want that much more, get on the text line at 816-357-8781. And there's still news going on. You can tell that because Matt is concentrating. But Matt, it's official. They have a practice squad, 17. A league bonus. I wanted to start with anything that shocked you about who's on this practice squad right now. We can run down the names if you prefer. It is Monty Bailey, Swayze Bozeman, Deion Bush, Cole Christensen, Baylor Cupp, Matt Dickerson, Neil Farrell, Keontae Ingram, Truman Jones, Fabian Lovett, Lucas Niang, Nico Remigio, Justin Ross, Keith Taylor, Montrell Washington. Any of those names stand out to you?
I mean, nobody surprises me. If the surprise is that the Chiefs signed all their own guys onto the practice squad for the most part. There's one spot left. We're presuming that one spot is for Bailey Zappe, and that's the one that stuns me. I really am surprised that the Chiefs are going with as their number 3 quarterback, a guy who's never taken a snap for them. I get, Bailey Zappe's got some upside and there's some interest there. I really think Chris Oladokun has worked hard. He's really done a good job in Kansas City. I think he's been a good guy in that quarterback room. And honestly, I would trust him if, your top 2 guys go down to at least be able to do something with this team. I don't know what Bailey Zappe is going to be able to do because he's not going to know the playbook. And so that would scare the living life out of me if I'm a team looking for a three-peat and I had to depend on my third-team quarterback for even a couple of snaps, much less a couple of quarters or a game. I'm just surprised they went that direction. But usually the Chiefs do bring in a couple of outsiders onto their practice squad. But in this case, 17 players with the international player with Chu Godric. And of the 17, 16 of them are their own players from camp. That's a little bit surprising, but not the list of players. I mean, every single one of these guys were guys that I would have, had on my and did have on my list of practice squad candidates. So there's nobody on this list that I'm looking at and saying, not quite sure how the Chiefs put that guy on there. They got a mix of veterans, mix of rookies. I mean, I think it's a decent mix. I mean, another, I will say, surprising omission, Cornell Powell. I mean, even though he hasn't been a regular, active roster member, he's been a stalwart on these practice squad. And I really thought that the Chiefs might go ahead and go for year 4 with Cornell Powell around. Maybe he'll be back later if there's injuries and everything. But I was kind of surprised that Cornell's not here.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I'm going to break down the Bailey decision, at least from my point of view, and see what you think of that coming up in the next segment, folks. Don't worry, we will get to that. But it turns out there was 2 wide receivers that were still in the hunt, basically, right? It is Ross and Remigio. So wide receivers 8 and 9 in camp that they brought back. It's a little light for them. Montrell Washington, I think, was below them. Maybe you differ on that one. But having 3, I think, is the bare minimum for the practice squad. They usually like to have a few. I agree with you completely. The 17th is for an international player that you could have used on Rees-Zammit. We'll talk about that later in the show as well. But you get Godric back. Fair enough. but you didn't get any new blood. No one that you've watched film on, and I know that Brett Veach's staff has been breaking down, all the pro personnel guys have been watching film across the league. The fact that you didn't go out and get any new blood surprises me a little bit. I can't say that it's like a complete concern, but did that take you aback overall that like you didn't try to freshen anything?
It surprises me a bit just simply because the Chiefs usually do. I mean, and they're not done yet. I mean, obviously the practice squad, even you'll see the 53 is very fluid in the first couple of days. So there can still be some things that happen. But I am surprised because usually, I mean, it's more than just one player coming in that comes in on the practice squad that's from outside the organization in the first round. So, to have 16 of the 17 from inside, that kind of surprises me. But, when you balance it with the active roster, which by my count, Ryan, I think there's 15 new faces on that team. Might be 16, but when it's all said and done, maybe 17. Depending on how everything shakes out and who gets replaced. I mean, I think we're going to end up with at least maybe 16 with the move with Nick Jones getting waived today to make room for one of their additions, Eric Scott coming in off of waivers. So, there's 16 new faces on the defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, that's still a lot of turnover and a lot of turnover on offense. So, to a degree, the thing is the new faces on this team, they all made the team. So, but like I said, I mean, I think the makeup of this, it's not like you're looking at this and saying, okay, well, hey, wait a minute, here's like 18 guys who have all been practice squad players here before. Really, Deion Bush, Cole Christensen, Dickerson, Farrell was on the active roster last year, Truman Jones, Lucas Niang, Justin Ross. I mean, it's about half and half, but there's still some new faces. But I think really a big part of it is just that a lot of the new blood on this team is on the active roster.
That's the part that's really intriguing to me. The quarterback obviously is one, but there's a running back addition. We're going to get into that. Go through the details of Samaje Perine and Bailey Zappe coming up next. If you get tired after lunch, you're not alone. Whether it's just getting to the recording or when it's time to go edit, it hits me late in the day. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch sometime in the afternoon. Let a 5-hour energy shot help you leap over the wall instead of crashing into it. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore from watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and every other flavor for everyone. You can try them all if you want. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You can choose the flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and you get some 5-Hour Energy products today, you can use the promo code LOCKEDONFB, and you're going to get 20% off of that order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good for subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Make sure you check out Vinny Iyer's show, Locked On Fantasy Football, for all of your draft needs right now. It's part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And every day, Matt, we have something new to talk about. This one has been quite a whirlwind. We talked about the trades yesterday. Got a couple of new players in there, fresh onto the 53. Now, at least a couple of other guys. I'm still unsure. Eric Scott was claimed today. I did not see the designation. Is he one of the people you're talking about possibly going straight to the active roster, and that's why Nick Jones came off of it, correct?
Yeah, he is on the 53 now, and Nick Jones has been waived. So he's no longer on the 53. Might come back onto the practice squad, but that might require some more moves. So that's why I say it's fluid. But for now, yeah, Eric Scott, a local kid from Baser Lindenwood, is going to be on the active roster, and Nick Jones is out for now.
Good for him, and I'm sure Nick has a shot at coming back too. A big time, in fact, I think we mentioned him yesterday, a big time acquisition at one of our positions of need that we still felt needed to be shored up was the running back spot. Samaje Perine, late of the Broncos, previously the Bengals as well, comes in, brings his pass catching ability and his pass protection ability. He can still run between the tackles some as well, but I really think it's outside on the edges that he brings a little bit of juice here. How do you expect them to use him, and where does he land in the depth chart at this point?
Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously the most immediate place that you think he's going to appear in the depth chart is going to be as a third down back. That's the one thing that this Chiefs offense looked like it was really lacking. Somebody who's got that experience that just like you rattled off, somebody who can catch the ball out of the backfield, somebody who can block a little, somebody who can run a little. I mean, that's Jerick McKinnon that you don't have anymore. What's Samaje Perine? Kind of Jerick McKinnon, except, 3 or 4 years younger. He's still 28. There's some juice, I think, left in those legs. And you look at his numbers, and honestly, I mean, you haven't seen the drop-off from him that, you might start to see at his age. I mean, I think he averaged 4.5 yards a carry last year. That's still a good, decent number. He caught 50 passes. Those are all good numbers, for a player at his age. So I don't have a lot of concerns there. It was pretty evident, once his name became available, and once the Broncos for sure, put it out there saying they were going to waive him, that was the red flag. That was the sign to 30 NFL teams, come get Samaje Perine, because we don't want him to go to Kansas City. You pretty much kind of felt like if there was a running back of this caliber and this quality and this style that hit the open market, Chiefs were going to be interested. And I think the Broncos knew that. So I think if somebody had just called and offered him a ham sandwich for Samaje, he probably wouldn't be in Kansas City right now. And I get some people saying, well, if nobody else wanted him, why the Chiefs? Well, Chiefs need him. I mean, this is exactly what they needed. So it's a great fit. Really intrigued to see how, he does fit in here in this team. We'll probably hear from him here in the next few days once he arrives in Kansas City and gets settled in and goes to the physical and actually gets signed to the team. Still need to see what the roster will be before him. So, are the Chiefs going to have 4 running backs, or are they going to drop one of the running backs they have? I don't see them dropping Isaiah Pacheco. I don't see them dropping Carson Steele. Could that impact Clyde? Legitimate question. But there's some other places it could go to. It doesn't have to be Clyde. It could carry 4 running backs. And honestly, with Clyde's stomach issues, I think, and with maybe a rookie in the backfield, I think you may want 4 running backs on the active roster. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But no, I think that once Perine became available, him coming to Kansas City just seemed like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I think that it's a great fit, and even Sean Payton's a little bit nervous. Had some comments today. I think that's a positive sign. Another positive sign, obviously, is that you need to have somebody that you feel can be an emergency quarterback. And it's been a pretty good streak for me, thanks to the Chiefs front office, for anybody who might be watching and listening, because y'all are following my plan pretty good, and I like it. And you had legitimate points about Chris Oludekar. He's done good work here, and he has proven to know the system. I would make the argument that not only am I pleased that Zappe ends up on this Chiefs roster in some way, shape, or form, obviously not in this initial announcement, but as you said, there's still a practice squad position there. A couple of things come to mind for me. This Chiefs offense, Andy Reid being able to move the ball about, making side adjustments, this is much more like his college offense than anything he's done in New England. So the fit is better in my mind. His skills all lead to being functional within this offense in terms of vision, being able to process, getting the ball out with a quick delivery, making decisions. Not always the greatest decisions. He is still yet a young player, but he can make them quickly. He doesn't get frozen in the pocket. And he's more athletic than he appears. So in terms of running the practice squad, it does make some sense to me. But I think the number one reason here, the only thing that I could say is a dramatic upgrade over Oludekar, is he's got starting experience in the NFL. He's been under fire. And if you were to take a look at Patrick having to miss a game or two and something happens to Wentz, you have someone that has been under the fire before, and I think can make that leap a little bit easier. I will have a stat comparison for you guys later over on RGR, because the difference between Bailey Zappe's last 2 years and Carson Wentz's is not very different at all. So given that information, does it still ring as a interesting mistake here, or going out on a limb for you? Or what does your read on him come to?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a long-term bet. It's not a short-term bet. And, maybe it's a tacit acknowledgement to the Chiefs that you're saying that, hey, if something were to happen to Patrick Mahomes and Carson Wentz, they're not three-peating. I shouldn't say it, Ryan. I know you're a fan of him, but I'm going to say some nice things in a moment. I'm just going to say I'll eat my hat if Bailey Zappe is the starting quarterback in the Super Bowl and the Chiefs win. It'll be a nacho hat, but I'll eat my hat.
I'll share it with you.
For the long term, everything that you say makes sense because, the Chiefs haven't really had that long-term backup quarterback that, they've kind of developed and been their own guy. I mean, they've had some number threes that have come through, but everything that they've done, other than, 1 year of Mahomes being your backup quarterback, it's been, veterans that have come in to be their backup. Is Zappe the kind of guy that they could develop and be their backup for, 3, 4, 5 years? That's a younger version of a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. He's 25. You do have you've got 2 years of team control over him, technically, I guess 3. Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's not going to be replacing Patrick Mahomes. That's not going to be the case. It's just going to be when does Bailey Zappe want to get out of Dodge and try to be a starting quarterback again? It's going to happen at some point. He's not going to want to just be Patrick Mahomes' backup for the rest of his life. So to me, it's more about certainly 2025 and having a backup behind Mahomes. Maybe you can keep him for another season or two before he decides that he wants to go out and try and be a starter again. But Chris Oladovi's 27; he's 2 years older, so I get that. If you were talking about straight youth movement here and talking about somebody that you can portray as being a number 2 quarterback for this team for maybe a couple of seasons. Yes, Zappe really fits into that. And to your point, he's got a skill set that as a backup quarterback could really pay off. I just don't think that you can ask that of him this year coming into Kansas City. I mean, picking up this offense quickly enough to be able to help this team. I mean, I think the only thing that if Zappe had to play this year, the only thing he could go out there and do is triage. That's it. Next year's a different story.
Yeah, the offseason will be his best friend. That is very clear. That's all right. That's what Carson Wentz is here for. So the quarterback seems like it's probably set for now, but they're not done. There are a lot of possibilities here and a couple of omissions that we should talk about. We're going to get to that coming up next. Getting your tickets to Arrowhead just got easier. Whether you're looking for that week 1 against the Ravens, week 2 against the Bengals, or even week 5 when they come back in October for the New Orleans Saints. They have a new feature at Gametime called Gametime Picks, and it takes all the guesswork out of getting your tickets. It makes it easier to filter out the fluff and get the incredible deals on seats that you don't want to waste time searching for through those thousands of tickets. Get Gametime Picks. The curation makes it easy to get all the sports, concerts, comedy, and theater, anything that you're looking for. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create the account, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $20 off of your first ticket purchase at Gametime. It's last-minute tickets. It is lowest prices, and it's always guaranteed. Folks, make sure you get to ChiefsDigest.com to read all of Matt's work in Chiefs Digest here on YouTube, where you can see and hear him as well. Matt, it's a couple of the things that didn't happen that have me a little bit surprised. I saw an initial report that Kamal Hadden was going to return to the practice squad. That didn't end up happening, and I haven't seen a signing elsewhere. I thought it was a good move to bring him back along with Kelvin Joseph and Keith Taylor. Maybe he got a better offer or something like that, but I would assume, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that the Chiefs should have still had interest in him, correct?
Yeah, I think they would have had interest in him. It was a tough training camp, tough preseason for Kamal Hadden. I think that the one thing he definitely demonstrated was some ball hawking abilities. I mean, it seemed like he had the ball in his hands a lot at the end of some plays, but he just struggled to get off the third team. I mean, he really seemed to be swimming a little bit. I think it took him a little bit of a while to kind of recognize that, this was the league's a little bit different than it is in college, and to kind of take that next step. He needs a lot of seasoning. And so, no, I mean, the Chiefs, I think there was definitely some interest there, but I think there was a legitimate question of just whether or not he was a really good fit with this defense. And if he thinks that there's a place that's a better fit for him, maybe that's why he should, be shopping somewhere else.
It makes sense. And it does look like they're sticking again, like they did with the wide receivers, to previous depth chart that we realized where both Taylor and Joseph played ahead of him in this preseason. Echo Boydo not returning either, at least not yet. We'll see if that churn happens. A couple of other interesting ones. Clearly, we had it right with Kadarius Toney. As of now, I don't see any pickup for him either. I think it might be a long road for him, but he has a chance to rehabilitate his career because of his athleticism. I think that is still in the offing. I won't say it can be in Kansas City. I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed. Would you agree, or do you think there is an inkling as they play with the practice squad?
Yeah, I'd be really surprised. I mean, especially with the wide receivers that they did sign to the practice squad. Like you mentioned, I mean, you want certain numbers. They got 10 receivers now altogether between the practice squad and the active roster. So, I mean, that's 2 full squads. So, you're okay there. I think that the Chiefs are fine letting Kadarius go and find his own way. It just certainly seemed like during this training camp that the excitement wasn't really there between the Chiefs and Kadarius. Him fitting in and the chemistry. I mean, you just didn't see any improvement there. You didn't see the consistency, anything of that develop. And without the consistency, what is a receiver like that? I mean, you need more. And year 3, you still just weren't seeing anything with some development of that consistency in the offense.
I wish that hadn't been the case, but you're absolutely right. And at the end of the day, it is a results-based business. So results are something we haven't seen from Rees-Zammit yet. And I'd seen a report that he was close to coming back. And then last second, he is signing in Jacksonville. I'm having trouble, and maybe you have an insight here for me. I don't know what the Jags have that the Chiefs don't, other than a possibility at playing time. So I'm a little surprised this happened, because I do feel the team was completely bought into trying to pull him along and make his transition to the NFL something that he could enjoy and that they could take advantage of as well. Is this just opportunity, or do you see something else going on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it can always come down to personal decisions, but I look at these situations and I'm like, I don't know why you would ever leave of your own accord the world champions, 2 times defending. I mean, you're going to get good coaching, you're going to have good experience, you got a chance to win a ring. I mean, those should be all great reasons to be there. And my understanding is that, Rees-Zammit had a contract that was going to guarantee him a practice squad contract if he was waived. So my understanding is that it was his decision to turn away. Now, there might have been some developments with it. I mean, the Chiefs, had they brought him back, they could have put the international player exemption on him, which would have limited a little bit of his mobility. So maybe he didn't want that. I've heard that, he's signing in Jacksonville. It's not clear if he's going to be their international player or not. He could, but wouldn't have to be. So we'll see. I mean, one thing I can see looking at Jacksonville, and I know somebody joked to me on social media, hey, there's no state taxes, so maybe he's really excited about that. But hey, is it the opportunity that Jacksonville has to play 2 games in the UK this year? That might be a alluring opportunity for him. I mean, if he feels like, hey, this is a journey that might end after 1 year, maybe he won't get a second year. Maybe get an opportunity for Jacksonville and earning a chance to play in his home country. And that may be the one thing that the Chiefs couldn't offer him. So I don't know. It's pure speculation, but that's at least the only thing at this level that really looks like it makes a whole lot of sense as far as why you would choose Jacksonville over the world champs.
Yeah, and that might be enough. That's significant motivation for some. Last thing here that I really want to get a take on, because I've been happily surprised by a couple of things the last couple of days, but they've addressed a lot of the issues we thought they might. The running back room, the edge room. They're going to be able to hunt the passer a little bit better. They added at the tight end spot a little bit different, but still an addition in my mind. So if they were going to make a move here beyond signing this practice squad, what do you think could come next? Anything that stands out to you that they could still be out there searching for?
Defensive line. I mean, yeah, you've got some guys in the practice squad that might make sense, for an elevation if you want it. You're playing a heavy run team. I still think that the Chiefs would be interested in looking at some, edge upgrades. Yes, you're going to get Charles and Minihue back, but I still don't know that this team is ready. That if they were to lose someone else, the depth is still not there. Maybe corner is still another one of those. Even though they've added Eric Scott, they still might be interested in an upgrade there. The only other place that I would be interested in seeing, and if they might be interested, is the offensive line, because you look at that offensive line depth, and your most experienced backup offensive lineman is Mike Caliendo, a third-year undrafted free agent. And after that, you've got Wanye, You've got 2 rookies from the 2024 class, and then an undrafted 2024 rookie. You got 3 rookies backing up your Super Bowl offensive line. So especially a veteran tackle, I could see that because, Wanya dealing with the bone bruise right now. That would concern me a little bit. Yes, you've got Lucas Niang still around. But the Chiefs even experimented a little bit with Lucas at guard, and I wouldn't be surprised if that experiment continued with him on the practice squad. But they could surprise us because I certainly didn't see tight end being a huge need. I understood that move because if you're going to keep 4 tight ends, that 4th tight end needs to be a special team stud, and that's not what Irv Smith was. So we'll see. You're absolutely right. They're not done. There are going to be some more moves. Probably even some more moves like we talked about as far as bringing in new blood on the practice squad. That's just going to come along. They'll probably get some guys in for tryouts over the next couple of weeks. The Chiefs are in a unique position that they play before everybody else. So even though they're looking at some free agents, they made the waiver claim. It's not unlike the Chiefs to just say, wait a minute, we're playing a game in 8 days. Let's get by this game with the people that we know. And then we can start looking at maybe some more tinkering, especially on the practice squad.
I think there's also the veteran guarantee, right? After week 1, we could see some movement there as well. So we won't hold our breath, folks. There's still some things coming. But Matt, thanks for laying it all out for us and making sure that my head's on straight. I appreciate it.
And, hey, congratulations on all your wins. You got a lot of Ryan Tracy guys on this team.
Hey, you know what? Nothing like a 3-peat run. Let's hope that it works. Folks, thanks for being with us. Make sure you check out Matt over at ChiefsDigest.com as well as here on YouTube. Thanks for being with us today. Like, sub, hit the bell. Listen to another Locked On show next. And if you need that fantasy help, Vinny will help you on Locked On Fantasy Football. Thanks for being with us today. We'll be back tomorrow.